One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.
Missouri State AD Kyle Moats is on One Question. Kyle, I'm actually going to start with just one question, and those who have listened to this podcast know that I can't just stop at one question. So the brand of the podcast sometimes doesn't belie what we talk about because it's more than one question. But let's start with the thought of how do you identify and then mentor the best young talent in your athletic department? So maybe it's an intern who was a previous student athlete at your place, or maybe it's an entry-level employee who's an assistant director of whatever, and you really can see the light go on over their head many times on how they can move through the industry or how they're executing at a very high level. And then how do you take that and guide them on getting better and helping them develop their professional skills to aid your department, but to aid their professional career path?
Well, let's take both those, Matt. Let's take, first of all, maybe potentially a student athlete. First, I think you can see the maturation of that individual throughout their 4 years or 2 years here. And you can identify just by how they act on the court, what they do off the court, if they're involved in university-type activities, if they're involved in SAC, even talking with the coaches. You know, as athletic directors, we're around these kids a lot. So we see what they do, how they handle themselves, you know, what their grade point averages are, their work ethic. And then once that's determined, you have to find out if they have an interest in athletics. You know, a lot of folks don't have necessarily an interest maybe in intercollegiate athletics, but if they do, you have to recognize that and know that probably, you know, their sophomore or junior year. And then if you have some type of internship or graduate assistantship, that would be something that you'd like to try to offer. I love to try to grow our own. I think that's really important in our industry. I came through that particular way of getting in the industry, where I was in intercollegiate athletics and a student athlete, and I was given that opportunity. So I'm a little bit fond to that way of getting into our business. In terms of what I look for, if you're not necessarily a student athlete and you're coming in as an intern or a young professional at the ground level, I like people that want to be involved in everything. And again, I go back to, you know, how I learned in this business. And you had to do everything. And that was 20 years ago. We weren't specialized. We were just going to be in marketing. You know, you were involved in operations. You might have been involved in licensing. You might have been involved in game day, events, even fundraising from that standpoint. Wherever you could get involved, you needed to do that, because not only did it help you, but it also gave you a better understanding about our business. So I look for people that are full of energy, that want to learn and want to be involved and aren't afraid to make mistakes. You've got a guy or a gal that's punching the clock from 8 to 5. That's not our business. As we all know, it's not our business. So I want people that are passionate about being in intercollegiate athletics, love our teams, love our kids, love being a part of the university, and want to make us better. And if you want to make us better and you want to work hard and you want to go on in this industry, then I'll help you. That's part of the deal. You work hard and do the right things, and you want to move on. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to move on. But if you want to move on and better yourself, then it's my job to help you get to that point.
So the difference between being in a large department, simply from a number of employees, and let's say a Power 5 department versus a mid-major, do you see there being an advantage as a young administrator who wants to get their hands in everything? Part of it is putting yourself out there beyond your duties once you've really executed at a high level there. But at a lot of mid-major places, you have to do a lot of everything. So would you recommend for some young administrators, it's more advantageous if you don't quite know where you fit yet to start at the mid-major level?
Well, possibly, man. I don't think it hurts necessarily. And again, I go back to my own experiences and talking to other folks. I think you have to make that a positive. I started back at Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville as an undergrad, but but as an undergrad, I was working for the athletic department, and they were Division II at that time, and they needed every bit of help they could possibly get in all those areas that I mentioned before. And Lynn Lashbrook was the athletic director back then, and he welcomed and opened the door for anybody that wanted to help out. And that was great experience for me because I wanted to get into intercollegiate athletics. I then went to Kentucky, and believe it or not, our friend Debbie Antonelli and I were both the interns or the graduate assistants then, and you would think that at Kentucky you would have had a lot of help, and that's a Power 5. Well, it wasn't looked upon like that, 20-some years ago. They didn't have anybody in marketing. And so Deb and I were doing all the external things along with Gene DiFilippo, and we just did anything and everything we possibly could to get experience in the industry. So I look at it both ways. I think it depends on the individual. It sounds good coming from a Power 5, but when I'm looking at a resume and I'm looking at people that I want to hire, those that have more experiences and touch a little bit of everything, then I feel like those people are at least versatile enough that I could plug them in a spot, and especially at our level here at Missouri State, they can't just do one thing. So I like for people that have had a little bit of variety of experiences, because you're going to have to do that at this level.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.